Thank you very, very much, and welcome. It is absolutely fabulous to have you all here today. It's been 18 months since we've hosted an event like this, and it is amazing to see such a full room. There are a few seats at the front here if anyone is standing and their legs are getting tired. Welcome also to the era of customer advocacy. We're going to spend a lot of time today talking about why now is the time to be focusing on customer advocacy and why it's more important in this environment than it ever has been before. I want you to leave really, really excited at the end of today, excited about what you can do in your businesses to harness customer advocacy and to change the way that your businesses succeed over the long term. Now, I'm going to talk in my presentation a lot about change. I'm going to talk about how the world has changed, how the world will change, how we all probably need to change to adapt to that future world. And so that is the core theme. We are in a really interesting time. The last 10 years has seen so much change. We've all experienced it, whether it's in this country, Brexit, the broader geopolitical change, a pandemic, COVID, climate change, war, the current economy we're in. It has been nuts. We've been living through this. I think when we're in our 80s, this last decade will be the bit that our grandchildren are asking us questions about. But when you think about change, I love this quote from JFK. Change is the law of life, and those who look to the past or present are certain to miss the future. Now, as someone who spent 3 years studying medieval history at university, this somewhat freaks me out a little bit that I wasted my time. But as a founder, I could not agree more strongly with it. I spend my life as a founder looking to the future, looking at how things are going to change, and trying to solve for what's coming. And so we're going to talk a lot today around what's coming and how we need to change to face it. Before we get there, I want to inject a little bit of energy in the room, so I'm going to do a little bit of audience participation. I can see everyone's very excited about that. Can I ask everyone, please, to be on your feet if you're able to stand up? Very simple game. You just have to stay standing if you agree with a statement. So stay standing if you work for a B2C business. You're welcome, mention me. You can sit down. Any partners can sit down. Very good. Everyone else, you are probably a client or a potential client of Mention Me. Stay standing if you believe that your customers are a critical source of growth. Great, you're in the right place. That's what we're talking about today. Phew, okay. Stay standing if you have a referral program in place. Very good. Anyone who just sat down, we would love to talk to you later on, but that's all good. Stay standing if you think you have done a good job of optimizing referral by testing and increasing promotion over time. Great. Awesome. Thank you very much for your honesty. This is going to be a great day for you to figure out how you can do more with that. And if you have known Mention Me for any of our lifetime, that's probably how you think about Mention Me and what we do. We do referral programs and we help businesses to optimize those referral programs. But we have changed a lot over the last few years, and we are going on a really exciting journey that you'll hear a lot more about today. So I'm going to see how many of you have managed to keep pace with us on that journey. So stay standing if you are using referral and advocacy data in your segmentation, and that might be identifying customers who referred, to give them, to kickstart referral networks, or introducing new products to customers who are advocates. Okay, we're doing good. You guys are really leading the pack. Feeling good, standing up, well done. Next up, stay standing if you're using advocacy data to decide who your best customers are. Okay, everyone remember the faces of these people. These are the people you want to make a beeline for at the end of the day. And then final one, stay standing if your customers are at the heart of how you think about growing and you are using metrics to prove it. Amazing. You guys are absolutely leading the pack. This is the journey that we want to help everyone go on in the room. And what I take from this exercise is, my goodness, there's a hell of a lot of opportunity in this room. Please sit down, everyone. Thank you very much. When we all get back together in about 12 months' time, we will play this game again. I really look forward to seeing the vast majority of you stay standing to the end of that. But there is so much that you can be doing in your businesses to move in this direction. Our vision as a business at Mention Me is to make all brands think advocacy first. What does that mean? Well, it means when you think about growth, don't think about a pot of money that you've got to go and spend to go and get new customers, but instead start by thinking about your existing customers. Start by thinking about how you can grow from your existing customers, because that is the true potential of your business. And yes, you will have that pot of money, and yes, you can choose where to put it, but we should always start with customers. And why? Well, because everything that Fred said was true. The very simple statement that Andy Taylor from Enterprise Rent-A-Car made is absolutely right. The only way to grow a business is to get customers to come back for more and tell their friends. So fixating on the coming back for more and telling their friends is exactly what we're doing. Now, I'm going to talk about change today, 3 types of change. I'm going to talk about how the market has changed over the last 18 months since we were all together. I'm going to talk about how Mention Me has changed over that time frame. And I'm going to talk about how marketing will change in the future and what we need to do to lean into that change. Let's start with the market. So it was literally 18 months ago that we all got together, and that's pretty much when the economy went into a pretty difficult place. In fact, I would go as far as saying it has been brutal if you've been working in a B2C business over the last 18 months. Like we've seen it in the news, we've seen the inflation rates, we've seen the consumer confidence tumbling. But if you're in a B2C business, you would have been living this. You would have been experiencing it day to day. And I promise I'm not going to delve too long on this and take us down to the depths of depression. We'll come quickly back up to the bright future. But Mention Me, we're very fortunate that we work with 500 brands around the world, and so we see what's going on in the world of e-commerce and online businesses. And so I wanted to share some of what we're seeing. One of the key metrics we look at is how our clients' overall order volumes are going up or down, and we can see what's happening across businesses. And when we look at the market today, in fact, for the first 6 months of this year, we can see that from an order volume perspective, only 40% of businesses were growing. 60% have been shrinking, and 25% of our clients have been shrinking by more than 25% in terms of order volumes. Now that is a really, really tough environment for everyone to be operating in. And it's not like it's been a short, sharp shock. We started tracking in this November, and we've seen it over the last 9 months or so, and it's not yet coming out of it. So we have this incredibly tough economy that we just need to face into. It's the reality we're operating in. But this economy has hit us at a time when marketing wasn't in a particularly strong place anyway. If you look at the challenges that we've seen in marketing, we've seen over the last 5 years in the run-up to the challenges of the economy, acquisition costs increased about 60%, and were increasingly unreliable, very hard to rely on paid channels. That put huge pressure on LTV and to customer teams to generate more LTV at exactly the point when there was a cost of living crisis and there's just far less, people have less in their wallets to spend in the first place. That's resulted in an increase in discounting and promotions, and many businesses have ended up becoming over-dependent on that. And throughout all of this, we have this incredible short-termism, which is very normal at this stage of the economy, but the pressure to hit the quarter's numbers or the monthly numbers becomes greater than ever, and that can lead to businesses making the wrong decisions for their customers so they can hit the quarterly or monthly numbers. This is tough, but we all need to keep perspective. And the reason that I shared this data wasn't to get doom and gloomy, but it was to try and release some of the weight from your shoulders, because we are all going through this together. And so if you are in one of the 40% of businesses that are growing, you may only be growing 10% and your targets were 40%, but you are still in the 40% of businesses that were growing. If you're in a business that's been shrinking by more than 25%, 1 in 4 people in this room are in a similar position to you. The weight is not only on your shoulders. And so having that context is really helpful, but it's also important that you then decide what you're going to do in these times. And in these times, it's where you make the decisions that determine not only how you get through them, but how you come flying out the other side of it. And at Mention Me, we spent a lot of time making sure that we're using these tough economic times to build the products for the future that are going to help businesses come out of this tough time and absolutely fly on the other side of it. So let me talk about how Mention Me has been changing over the last 18 months. It's actually been an interesting year for us because Mention Me turned 10 this year. That's slightly amazing for a founder to have got to look back on the 10 years and see where we thought we'd be at the beginning and where we are now. And actually, the story behind Mention Me is Tim, my co-founder, and I set up Mention Me when we were working at a business called HomeAway, which was the world's largest marketplace for holiday rentals, kind of a precursor to Airbnb. And when we were there, we had 18 brands around the world, and when we surveyed customers, about 60% of them said they were coming in on the back of a recommendation from a friend. So you're like, when you get that stat, you're like, yes, I have a great business, this is amazing. And then in the next breath, you're like, what do I do with that? It's just a data point. There's nothing you can do with it. And so Tim and I then spent a lot of time when we were at HomeAway trying to figure out how we could optimize referral to actually take that number and turn it into a greater form of growth from our customers. And we succeeded in doing that, so that we managed to drive referral up so that it was 20% of acquisition on top of that organic growth that we were seeing. And we thought, great, this is a great place to start for a new business. And the fundamental belief was that growth should start with customers. How can we go to the market to put the power in the hands of the marketing teams to enable customers to share more easily so that more growth can come from customers? And it's been a phenomenal 10 years. Since 2013, we've delivered more than 6 million referrals, $2 billion of revenue to our clients for 500 brands around the world. And we work with some incredible brands. We feel truly, truly honored to be working with you all, and are very, very grateful for you putting your trust in us as a business, and love partnering with you. But a couple of years ago, we realized that we'd missed a trick. We had been really blinkered in how we were thinking about growing from customers. It was very much about growing from referral and getting those referral programs optimized as much as possible. We were focusing on the mechanics and the detail, whereas there was a much bigger picture that we were missing, which is how do you grow from broader advocacy, not just that referral program. And it was the data that really let us see that. So this is a great example of some of the data we started seeing a couple of years ago. This is an example from Matches Fashion, where we had there was one customer who just spent £216, which on a brand like Matches Fashion is not the most amount of money, but she kicked off a referral network that was worth £430,000. And these networks exist under all of your businesses. And some of them you'll see formally through referral, some of it will be informal, and some of it will be people just spreading word of mouth and really hard to track the data. But when you get the data, it is so powerful. Within this, there's all sorts of things that you can see. You can see those customers that we call dandelion customers, where it's one customer who's referring multiple customers. And when you see them, the first question that always comes to my mind is, why are you doing that? What are you saying to those customers? Where are you sharing? Because once you start to understand that, then you can think about how you can replicate that behavior. There's some very long, thin lines in this, and Fred talks about those long, thin lines in his compounding example. But if you can get one customer happy enough to refer the next, who's happy enough to refer the next, really good things happen for your business. We describe that as the definition of customer love. And then this is a static image, but this is not a static network. This is growing all the time. And once you can see how it's changing, you can start to make decisions based on how it's changing. So you can see where it's slowing down, where you might want to re-engage customers. You can see those that are proliferating fast, where you really want to understand what's going on and what people are saying. And once you start to see this data, it changes your view of a customer. A customer is not just what they're spending. A customer is how they are talking about you outside of the business in order to engage your future customers. And it was as we were exploring this data that we came across Fred, who had written about around earned growth in the Harvard Business Review. And there was it was exactly how we saw the world, which is why we reached out to him. And the way that I like to think about earned growth is really, as a business, there's only 4 ways you can grow. There's what we've talked about already from Andy Taylor, the customers coming back for more and telling their friends. Or you can pay for new customers, or you can pay to reactivate existing customers. The right-hand side of this is paid, the left-hand side of this is earned. If you just look at earned, you effectively get a sense as to how fast your business is growing if you don't spend a penny on sales and marketing. Another way of thinking about earned growth is it's your resting growth rate. If you did nothing else this year, how much would you grow? It's a really, really helpful number to understand how well you're doing at growing from your customers and the value of investing in your customers so that you could grow faster. And the bit that's missing for most businesses is, yes, they can calculate the net revenue retention for customers coming back for more, but there's this big hole in the data on customers telling their friends. And that is where we can help you, provide you with the data and the tools to optimize earned growth. Now, one of the things that's really interesting we find is that when businesses think about the most value of a customer today, they always look at customers' wallet. Like when you're thinking about customers, you're thinking about how much that customer will spend with you. If you're thinking about your most valuable customers, you're thinking about your highest LTV customers, which is derivative from spend. If you're thinking about segmentation, most businesses start with recency, frequency, monetary segmentation, which is spend. But I am so much more than my wallet. Like the value that I have to a business is me going out and talking to my friends about it, raving about the shoes that I've just bought, raving about the holiday I've just been on. That is real value. That is the best marketing that you can get. And if you're only looking at the value of a customer from a spend perspective, you are missing all of that. So our ambition is to help you understand the true value of a customer, incorporating the advocacy data. And the metric that we find most helpful for that right now is extended customer revenue, which looks at the revenue that a customer has spent and the referrals that a customer has brought into a business. Let me bring that to life with an example from Bloom & Wild. So fabulous, fabulous business. This is a real customer called Abby from Bloom & Wild who spent £84 in her first year and as such sits as a lower quartile LTV customer. Now, every one of you in this room will have customers who are in your database as a lower quartile LTV customer, and you are undoubtedly spending less time with them than you think with customers who you think are more valuable either today or in the future. The problem with this is it's just looking at her from a spend perspective. If you look at her from another dimension, yes, she spent £84, but she referred 4 people. And those 4 people, 2 of them happened to be far more valuable than she was from a spend perspective, and so she's responsible actually for bringing in £1,500 to Bloom & Wild. And now there's another interesting dynamic here, that her 3 purchases happened over the first year. Those first 4 referrals happened over the first year, and then it ended. The relationship with Bloom & Wild finished. Because potentially she was being treated as a lower LTV customer, there was no engagement. Whereas if Bloom & Wild had had this data and were thinking about her in this way, they could have sent her flowers every single quarter to engage her. In fact, with this amount of money, they could have afforded to send her flowers every single week. The amount that you can choose to invest in a customer when you have this data is very, very different to what you can invest when you're just looking at spend. And it didn't stop there. This referral network continued, so the overall network she introduced was worth more than £5,000 over 5 years. And you can see that in another way, looking at this chart, you can see how that value just accumulates over time. Now, Fred showed some really nice theoretical charts on compounding interest in the previous one. This is real. This is what happens if you get customers referring. And this happened even though that relationship finished after a year. If you were engaging customers in a way that truly understood the value of this and rewarded advocacy and engaged with advocates, this could have been 4 times this, 5 times this. That's what we're trying to help you unlock in your businesses, that natural organic growth that compounds over time. Now, one of the questions we often get here is, surely I can just use like spend data to guess who my best referrals will be. So if someone is spending a lot, they're probably going to be the people who are most engaged and want to advocate on behalf of the business. And this is getting a little bit geeky, but we've done so much analysis on this, and there is no correlation between what someone will spend and how much their extended customer revenue is. If there was correlation here, you'd expect to see a straight line down the middle. Instead, you get this wonderful Jackson Pollock painting where there is literally no relationship between spend and ECR. Just because someone is not spending a lot with you does not mean they could be an amazing advocate for you. And what's really interesting here is Abby was one of the dots in this square, which is someone who is not spending a lot but is actually incredibly valuable. And this is just huge untapped opportunity for any business. Final bit of data, but we've just got this new data hot off the press in the last couple of weeks. And I think one of the questions that might be in your mind after this is, okay, that's really interesting, but how valuable is this? Like, how much could this really make a difference to my business? And this is from a D2C e-commerce business, where when we look at their individual customer revenue, i.e. what someone has spent over the first 180 days, the average is about £156. If we look at the average extended customer revenue for a customer who was referred, it's £410. And then within ECR, we look at a low, medium, and high segment of customers, and the high segment of ECR customers starts at £1,500. So that high ECR group is worth 10 times the average spend of a customer. So we know there are these individuals who are hugely valuable. How many of them are there? Well, in this business, there are about 15% of customers who've referred in the last 6 months. And if we just look at the top 2, the high ECR customers and the medium ECR customers, they're about just under 10% of the customers, but they equate to 40% of the value in that business when you layer in spend and referral. And these are not the same customers that you're currently targeting if you're looking at, if you're segmenting based on RFM or spend. So you need the advocacy data to start to understand who to reward and how to drive that advocacy engine that results in the compounding and all of the good stuff. Okay, no more data, I promise. I've overloaded you with data. But what's really interesting now is that not only can we get that data, but we put AI and machine learning behind it so that we can not only help you understand your customers, we can help you get value from that data. So last year we released propensity to refer, so we can understand each individual customer's propensity to refer. And today we're releasing predictive ECR, which is not just looking at what a customer's ECR is today, but what it will be in 12 months' time. So if you want to think about segmentation and how you should be treating customers, incredibly, incredibly valuable. And Roy, Anka, and James will give you much, much more detail on that in the coming session. This is also a really, really exciting day because we are moving from what we've been for most of the last decade, a referral platform, to a customer advocacy intelligence platform. We will provide you with the data and tools to help you to grow sustainably from advocacy. Referral is part of the story, but it is a much bigger story where we can give you the data you need. You'll see from Roy, Anka, and James all of the detail behind this, but we've grown the platform to enable you to identify your customers your most valuable customers right now. And the days of tactical referral platform are gone. And we've built out what you need to embed referral and advocacy across your MarTech ecosystem. And we've done that because it solves for the future of marketing. So let's talk about where marketing is heading, because it's a really interesting crossroads, I would say. So I talked up front about where marketing is at the moment. A challenging time. We found it very hard in the current environment, and then marketing has not been in a good place to start with. And then we get the hand grenade lobbed over of generative AI and what AI will do to marketing. And we've got to figure out what is going to come, how is marketing going to change. And if you think about the role of AI, the future of marketing is very different. Like, AI will be able to optimize performance marketing channels. AI will be able to do a very good draft of an email or a very good draft of content, such that content is far easier to produce and it's much harder to cut through. If you give it the right data, AI will do a good job of attribution so that you know where to spend your next pound or dollar or euro. But there is one thing that AI will not be able to do, and that is to create a business that truly delights its customers, that focuses on customer love, that has the imagination to figure out where to surprise and delight a customer to build a meaningful relationship with that customer. AI will create an efficient but a very homogeneous experience for customers. And that efficient, homogeneous experience is not one that is going to result in customer love. So the role of marketing teams is to delight customers at every turn, to build relationships, to create a sense of loyalty to the extent that those customers go on to become advocates. Because when you do that, that drives the superior economics in your business by getting customers to come back for more and tell their friends. And that superior economics is not something that an AI optimization engine can compete against. It is so deeply ingrained in such a human relationship that you're building that it is where marketers need to be spending the time to focus on delivering growth in the future. Now, that's talking about the future, but we don't need to look to the future to see businesses that are already winning in that way. A great example of a business that's winning in that way is Airbnb, going back to my home away days, the old space I used to be in. And when you look at Airbnb against Expedia, you see this dynamic playing out. So Airbnb have done a really good job of building a business that makes customers want to come back for more and tell their friends. And on the back of that, they get 70% of their traffic direct to their website. Expedia, on the other hand, only gets 40% of their traffic direct to the website. What that means for the economics of the business is that Airbnb only spend 20% of their revenue on sales and marketing, whereas Expedia spend 48%. And these businesses now are roughly a similar size and similar growth rate, but on the back of that, the market values Airbnb 3 times more than Expedia. So if you want, or if you have stakeholders, if you have a board, if you have a C team that are fixated on optimizing the value of your business, this is critical because it puts sustainability or sustainable growth right at the heart, and that is what the market are valuing here. So, we want to take you on a journey. This is not something that happens overnight. Referral is the start of the journey. Referral remains the starting point, and it's where we are best in class and have deep, deep expertise. But once you have that referral data, we can help you understand who your best customers really are. We can then use that to optimize customer experiences so that your advocates realize that they're being appreciated and do more of it. And that starts to build the flywheel that generates the impressive organic growth. And ultimately, we want to help you fully optimize your business for customer love and advocacy so that you get those superior results that Airbnb are getting against Expedia, so that you have the highest earned growth rates in the market. And this is something that you need to start now with. Start now because Fred's point on compounding is right. Small steps today make a very big difference in the future. And the reverse of that is also true, that that every day you wait is a day where you fall further behind the competition if you're not taking this approach. I want to leave you with one final quote, and that is from Sheryl Sandberg, the former COO of Meta. We cannot change what we are not aware of, and once we are aware, we cannot help but change. I really hope that today will open your eyes to the value and possibility of advocacy within your business. We want you to leave today with your brain absolutely whirring. You're going to hear from some fabulous speakers, both from MentionMe and from our clients who are already going along this journey. And I hope you leave today both with excitement but tangible next steps that you can take to your business. We cannot wait to be your trusted partner on this journey and to help you realize the potential of advocacy and build it into the plans to transform the economics of your business. So welcome to the Customer Advocacy Era. It's going to be an exciting few years together. Thank you very much.